Hey guys, Sasha here from the Balanced Canine, and if your dog is currently itchy and or red, you might be wondering what on earth is happening right now. So many dogs are becoming itchy and their feet and their pasterns are becoming quite red and inflamed, and pet owners are frustrated and they don't know what's going on. Well, this is the time of the year which is peak pollen season. It is an incredibly frustrating time for a lot of pet parents out there. And one thing that tends to happen is that dogs all of a sudden will start getting itchy and they'll get red feet and red pasterns, and their owners will start changing the dog's diet because I think for some reason they don't consider the environment and they think it must be food. There might be a bad batch of food, or something's changed, or maybe they started this supplement or introduced this food, and that could be a problem. When a lot of the times, especially at this time of the year, this is an environmental issue. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to run through some things that you can do. I live with Great Danes and have lived with Great Danes for over a decade. I'm very well used to skin issues. The Great Dane itself is actually considered an affected breed, and I'll go through some of the reasons why certain breeds can be predisposed to skin issues, especially environmental issues. Now on the screen you'll actually see a picture right now. On the left hand side you'll see some red feet and red pasterns, and on the right you'll see that it's all healed up. Okay, so this is Gavin, my Great Dane, and all of a sudden at the age of 3.5 he became atopic. So he became quite reactive to his environment. It was really hot that year. We were getting 40 to 45 degrees out here in Western Sydney. The humidity wasn't helping. There were all these different things that were going on that just did not help with the situation, but we got it on track with a few different things. Right now in this peak pollen season, we're just starting to see that little bit of a flare up from him right now, so we're on it. We're starting to really do all our management techniques to try and keep him as comfortable as possible. So why could he be affected? I think a lot of people look at fresh food fed dogs and think, well, these dogs should be really healthy. There shouldn't be anything wrong with them, right? Well, feeding fresh food is a great start, but we also have the dog's genetics and the environment at play as well. There are some things that we can't control, but absolutely providing a species appropriate low or non-inflammatory diet is going to be certainly beneficial to these dogs. So what potentially could have happened with Gavin? Why did it suddenly come on at 3.5? Well, what they generally say is it takes till about the second exposure to the issue, the environmental issue, before a dog responds. I think it may have been Gavin's maybe third exposure. I mean, all dogs are different. Some dogs actually react straight away. I've had a previous Dane that was highly allergic, as a 10-week-old puppy, and he suffered his whole entire life with atopy, and that was crazy. What they tend to think is that with environmental allergies, there's actually a skin barrier issue. So the barrier of the skin is defective, and therefore it's actually letting in these toxins and these allergens, and then the body's immune system overreacts and has this inflammatory response. Okay, so definitely there's a genetic issue there as well. Now, it's absolutely true that genetics don't define us or our dogs. The environment can actually turn on and off switches. In our environment today, there are so many different things that are outside of our control. I've even gone to the lengths of my backyard that I mow it with an electric mower so I don't have petrol residue on my lawns, and I started doing that with a previous Dane, the one I mentioned earlier, that was highly allergic as a puppy. So there's all these different things that they get exposed to that turn on and off these genes. So all we can do is the best that we can do, minimize toxins in our homes, provide a really good diet, and when they become very sensitive to their environment, we're on top of it straight away with the management techniques that we're going to go through. Now, you may be watching this because you've got a skin issue dog, and you probably have some techniques and things that work for you, and I'd love for you to share them as well. I think it's really important to say that when it comes to supplements and topical creams, what works for one dog will not work for another. So although someone might have had the most amazing outcome with a certain topical application or a supplement, unfortunately, it's not going to work for all the other dogs. Every dog's individual issue is actually different and happens for a different reason. Okay. All right. So number one, let's go and have a look at one of the easiest things you can do with a skin issue dog. Welcome to the shower, Gavin. Well, Gavin's just come back from his morning walk. That means he's been exposed to contact allergens out there. Peak pollen season. Pollens are in the air, pollens are on the grass. And so step one is to get dog into shower or into an area where you can actually wash them down. So first of all, I'm going to really check that water temperature is fairly cool, but I don't want it too cold. It can be lukewarm. We do not want it hot at all. And the pressure of that water actually hitting the skin needs to be nice and soft. If you imagine you have really irritated skin and high pressure showering comes at you, that is going to be really, really uncomfortable. You can leave it here if you want to. You can do this every day, every time they come back from a walk. You've also got the option of using shampoos. I'm personally using Shine and Sheild from Rogue Royalty. They actually also do have a few different shampoos. You can contact them and ask them which one would be appropriate for theirs. For your dog. The Shine and Sheild has got a really good reputation with dogs with skin allergens. So we're using that. So we're just popping it on really nice and gently. So you really have to remember when you're applying shampoos and conditioners that you're very careful, because this is an inflamed area. It's not very comfortable and the dog may not be very happy at all with you doing this. I've actually put a towel underneath Gavin's because his feet are actually going to be soapy now and he could potentially slip. All right, so these need to stay on for a period of time, sometimes anywhere between 2 to 10 minutes. And this time it's a great opportunity to make them feel a little bit happier about being in the shower or the bath or wherever you're doing it, and give them a nice little rub down and a nice little massage. It's also a good opportunity to have your hands on the dog to feel for anything that's allergy related, such as hives, any hot areas. If you've got a coated dog, perhaps you might have a little bit of a look for hot spots and things like that. It's just a really good opportunity to have a bit of a feel of that dog and see how they're going. You know, putting your hands on a dog frequently, you get to find out their little sore bits and pieces here and there. Gav's quite enjoying this. As you can see, he doesn't look so sad anymore. I mean, he doesn't look happy, but it's a better situation for him. Now remember, you're going to need to wash it off. Check that temperature again. Make sure it's not too warm and it's not too cold. Be very gentle with that shower pressure, and get as much of it off as you can, because any kind of residue that you leave on the skin could later on be a bit of an issue for them. All right, here little man is actually having a foot soak. Now his feet are actually being soaked in tea that has been brewed just like you would brew it for yourself, and it's left to cool to room temperature or slightly cool. And you can put their feet in it for around about 1 minute per foot. And some dogs can be a little bit funny about this until they really understand what you're doing and that they're not being murdered. The types of teas that you can use are chamomile, green tea. There's a red African tea called rooibos. I think there's different ways of saying it, but you can get it in your local Woolies, and some people will even do a combination of them. You can do this 2 to 3 times a day if you want to. Depends how inflamed that dog is. The next thing that you can actually do, which I find is a great thing to do, is create a barrier. So because how we spoke about a bit earlier that these atopic dogs can have a defective skin barrier, actually giving them a barrier before they go out on their walk can be a really great thing to do, because it can lessen the amount of toxins and pollens that are actually getting in through their skin. Now the one that I really like here is by Canine Ascension, and it's got calendula oil, organic Australian beeswax, shea butter, cocoa butter, tallow from grass-fed cattle. So that actually sounds delicious, right, for a dog. So you'll just want to put it on probably just before you're putting their lead on and take them straight out, so they don't have an opportunity to lay down and lick it and see how yummy it tastes. Obviously, it's also a lovely balm that is actually going to cool and soothe them down as well. All right. Now, in terms of internal stuff, apart from a fresh food diet that is very anti-inflammatory, I tend to move completely away from kibble recommendations when I'm looking at dogs with skin issues. I would prefer that I know everything that is going into the dog, so fresh food, balance. Join us at my fresh food feeding group if you need to know how to do that. But one of the biggest things that we can do for them internally is give them high doses of omega-3. I prefer to use Antinol. It's a great product. It's a specially extracted version of green lip mussel. It's like 170 times more powerful than green lip mussel powder. It is like seriously amazing. And a lot of dogs who have redness issues are actually doing really well on Antinol. So they're the prices up there that you can expect to pay from your vet. Not all vets stock it. So if you want some help with some other options, feel free to touch base and I can help you out there. And they can be given that daily in their, when they're having a really hard time. They can be double dosed as well onto the loading dose. Now, Antinol is actually used for dogs with arthritis. So if you have dogs with arthritis, it's also great for that, but it's also a very good preventative for joint disease. So I would have all dogs such as puppies onwards on it. It helps with puppies' trainability and also cognitive decline in older dogs. So there you go. There are some tips that I would totally recommend. The very underrated hydrotherapy, which is simply with water, rinsing those pollutants off your dog's skin. Because when they come back from a walk, they've picked up all those pollens and toxins and things like that. All right. Please go ahead and share the information that works really well for you. And remember, sometimes we are going to be put in a position that we need to medicate our dogs, even though that may go against our belief systems. You really have to work very closely with your vet and, you know, be guided by them as well. If you cannot get a handle on your dog's skin conditions, they're going to need to be medicated because this is a quality of life thing. A lot of the times you're going to need to stop the itch scratch cycle, otherwise you're going to end up with infections. It's horrible seeing a dog itch, and a lot of skin issue dogs can become quite temperamental, and you can imagine why you would feel quite temperamental too if you had to put up with constant itching and scratching. All right, guys, share away. Thank you for watching, and we hope you can get a handle on your skin issue dogs this summer.